Good morning, children. In this video, we are going to discuss about ionic solids. In the previous class, we completed non-polar molecular solids, polar molecular solids and hydrogen bonded molecular solids. Now in this, we will see the ionic solids. Now, they constant particles of ionic solids are having cations and anions. Here constant particles for the ionic solids will be cations and anions. These will be the constant particles, both cations and anions. These are small size with positive charge and more size with negative charge. Anion size will be more, cation size will be more. For example, ionic solids, we can take NaCl, KCl like this here, in which we will take one example, the crystal lattice of sodium chloride. See, cations are surrounded by anions like this here, in which cation size is small, anion size is what? Large. Ionic solids are formed due to force of attraction between the ions. That means force of attractions between what? Cation and anion, isn't it? Opposite charges, both positive and negative, will have attraction forces. That is the reason an ionic solid is forming here. And force of repulsions between the ions of same charge is also one more reason here. So for example, Na plus and Cl minus, we are going to get forces of attractions here. For this one, we are going to have forces of attractions here. For example, between Na plus and Na plus, or Cl minus and Cl minus, we are going to have repulsions are present here. Repulsions will present. That means between positive and positive, we are going to have what type of things? Repulsions. Between positive and negative, we are going to observe what here? Attractions. Here it will be attractions and here it will be repulsions. So ionic solids are forming due to force of attraction between the ions of opposite charges and the force of repulsion between the ions of same charges, isn't it? So this is the reason ionic solids are forming. In this structure, if you observe, the number of cations always should be equal to number of anions, isn't it? Next. The total charges in the ionic solids are always will be balanced so that it will be electrically neutral, isn't it? So the number of Na plus should equal to the number of Cl minus, so that what happens, electrically it becomes neutral. Next, if you observe what happened, an anion is surrounded by a cation. If you observe here what happened, any anion, if you observe here, that will be surrounded by here what happened, cation here, isn't it? Similarly, a cation will be surrounded by anion here. This will be happens in all ionic crystals here. Similarly, cations are also surrounded by anions here. Such type of arrangement of ions depends upon the three factors. So arranging of a cation around anion, anion around cation depends upon three factors. One is what? Size of the ion. Second is charge of the ion. And the fourth one is extent of polarization of anion, isn't it? How much it is polarized, that is also it depends actually, right? Next. Properties of ionic solids. Generally, ionic solids are hard in nature and also brittle in nature. Brittle means what happened? Because of their layer structure, they can easily broken. We can just a biscuit like that. How we can break biscuit. Similarly, what happened? This can be done. Brittle means what happened? We can easily break that one, isn't it? Because of their layer structures here. Ionic solids have high melting point because of strong force of attractions between the opposite ions, isn't it? They are very strong forces, therefore they are having high melting point here. Ionic solids are non-conductors or poor conductors because we don't have any free electron in the ions. And one more thing, ionic solids are rigid in nature. That means their position, if you observe in the crystal lattice, is what? Fixed position they are having. They cannot move from their fixed positions, isn't it? But they can vibrate, but they cannot move their positions. That means ion cannot move their position. So when we get current, when it conducts the current, when ions will move, right? then only current will flow. But in the case of ionic solids, what is happening? The position of ions is what? Fixed positions. They cannot move from their mean positions. So once they cannot move from their mean position, what happens? They cannot conduct electricity. But one exception is there. What are that exception if you observe? If it is in the fused state or molten state, aqueous state. Both fused and molten states are looks what same. Both fused means nothing but paste nature, semi-solid. Paste nature or semi-solid we can call it this one. In semi-solid nature or paste nature, they can move little bit here. They can move from their positions here. That is the reason they can conduct electricity. In aqueous state, what happens? Ions will get breaks here. The attraction forces between the ions, isn't it? Between positive and negative charge will breaks here and they will move in the solution. Therefore, they can conduct electricity. So, this point is very, very important for examination point of view. Ionic solids generally they are non-conductors, but in the state of molten and aqueous they conduct electricity because of momentum of ions. The reason is very simple, because of momentum of ions, isn't it? Next, an application of shear force. When you apply some force, what happens here? They can move a little bit here. When you apply, what happens? They can vibrate only. This is what vibration can be done here. Okay. So because of this, what happens? Little bit repulsions will generate here because of positive which has meet like this here. So crystals undergo distortion and are fractured, isn't it? Because of this, isn't it? Application of shear force here. Next, metallic solids. Next type of solids are called metallic solids. Now, how do they form? Let me see here. So I have taken a metal. This is a metal, and the positive charge you are observing, they are actually called metal ions, isn't it? They consist what? Electrons, but they are called metal kernels we can call. The positive we are called as a kernel means what? The charge of nucleus is nothing but called kernels. Around this charge, what happens? Nucleus, electrons will be there, free electrons will be there. These are all what? Free electrons, and these electrons can move very simple here. So metallic solids are very good conductors. Why they are very good conductors? Because only the reason they are having free electrons. This positive charge is nothing but called kernels we can call this one, kernel. Okay. What is a kernel means? The valence electrons, you leave that valence electron, remaining is called kernel. Leave it the valence electrons. For example, sodium, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So leave it 1s2, 2s2, 3s1, you leave it that one, 3s1. So 3s1 is a free electron. What about 1s2, 2s2, 2p6? That becomes under a kernel actually, because they are fixed in the orbital. They cannot participate in the bonding. So which will participate in the sodium? Okay, 3s1. Why? Because the configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, these are what? Octet configuration. They don't involve in the any reactions. So 3s1 is free electron. That electron will move here. So this part I am calling as a kernel here. So this part is stable. Only this part having electrons will move inside the metal here. So this is the reason they will conduct the electricity. Let me discuss that one now here. Now metals have low ionization potential. Generally, why? Because these are because of the free electrons. Outside some electrons will be there. They are free electrons. So they are unstable. So that is the reason they can remove easily. So that is the reason their ionization potential, energy required to remove electron will be low. Energy required to remove the mostly loose bonded electron from the valence shell of isolated gas. What is the definition they are saying here? Very simple. What is the energy is required to remove the electron present where mostly loosely bonded electron. It is mostly loosely bonded electron present in the outermost shell. The metal should be in which state here? Gaseous state, and that too neutral atom here, isn't it? So for example, you take sodium in gaseous state, neutral atom. So which is loosely held electron? 3s1 is the most loosely bonded electron. So for removing this electron, how much amount of energy is required? That energy we are calling as ionization energy or ionization potential here. Now, since generally when you observe metals will have what? Very low ionization potential because they are having what? Mostly loosely held electrons are there. That is the reason what happen. Generally what happen? Metal having lower ionization potential, they lose electron very easily. You observe here what happened, how the electrons are moving here. See, electrons are moving, what happened. This is called what? Kernel. Just now I told you, the positive you are showing as a kernel here, which includes the nucleus and inner orbital electrons. You see 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 is actually inner orbital electrons. Including them, they are called as a kernel here. Now the 3s1 of this sodium is what actually? These electrons. The free electron, they are moving, no. Here it is moving, no. These electrons are nothing but what? Electron of sodium. They are moving inside of the metal like this here. Now let me observe here what happened. Free electrons are delocalizing like this. See, the free electron delocalized, or mobile electrons are delocalizing like this here. We can also call this C of free electrons. See, all these electrons, 3s1 electrons of sodium. For example, if you take this as sodium metal, all electrons belongs to what? 3s1. Now there are plenty of electrons are there, so we can call this one as a C of free electrons. The constant particles in the metallic solids are metal ion and free electron. What are the constant particles for NaCl? Na plus and Cl minus. For metals, what should be the constant particle? See, Na plus and electron. So this is what actually Na plus comes under all these things. These are all things. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 comes under Na plus, and this electron comes under 3s1. So the constant particle is this electron, and one more constant particle is called what? Kernel. Kernel contains what? Everything except this electron. Everything you are calling as kernel only. Next, see, this electron momentum you are observing a C of free electron you are observing a C. This is called kernel electrons, isn't it? Positive kernel and electron. They are nothing but actually what? Constant particles of metallic solids here. Next, the constant particles in metallic solids are metal ions and free electrons. Just now we discussed here. The force of attraction between kernel and free electrons is called metallic bond. Now what is metallic bond? The bond present between the kernel and free electron. See, kernel I am representing as a positive charge. Free electron you are presenting as a negative charge. Now negative charge and positive charge. Now both are getting what? Attractive forces. Between these two, what happen? You are going to have attractive forces you are going to observe here. So this attractive forces present between the kernel and the electron is called what? Metallic bonding actually. Next, they are very good conductors. Why they are very good conductors? Because there are number of free electrons are there, and all these free electrons are what actually easily flow. You see, observe here what happened. These are all electrons can freely flow inside the metal. Therefore, they conduct electricity, isn't it? And they are very hard in nature because metallic bondings are very, very strong. Therefore, they are very hard, and they are malleable and ductile. Why? Because malleability means what? When you beat that one, they convert into sheets. When you beat that one with hammer, they convert into sheets here. This type of behaviority is called what? Malleability, and the ductility because of what? Deriving into the wires. If you take a 1 gram of the gold, from 1 gram of the gold we can derive a wire of a kilometers, isn't it? That is called what? Ductility here. So these can be exhibited by the metals because of having the kernels here. So kernels, what happen? When you beat, what happen? They will get into thin sheet because some space is present between the kernel and electron. The shape, that small space, that will be what happen? Broken or will be removed by using what? When you beat that one into sheet here. They have high melting point and boiling point. Because of same thing, they are having strong force of attractions between the kernel and electron that we are calling as metallic bond. So metallic bond once is strong, what happen? They will get higher melting points and also what? Boiling points here. They possess luster and color. So that means when the light strikes on that metal, what happen? They will glow. That glowing is nothing but luster nature, and they also exhibit the color. Because of visible region, they emit the color. That is the region they exhibit what? Color. Because the free electrons are there, they absorb the light and they excited and they come back into ground state. When they come back into ground state by that electron, they emit some certain frequency at visible region. So they exhibit what happen? Color properties. Next, metal solids consist of what actually? Kernel and mobile electron, and also what? Metal ion. Metal ion is nothing but kernel only, no? Both are what? Same only, no? So that is the reason all of the above is the answer. Kernel is nothing but metal ion, isn't it? It's a metal ion, isn't it? And you see, Free electrons we don't have, that is outside of the kernel is called free electron. Metallic solids are different, that are completely, they are called together, they are called metallic, both together they are called metallic solids here. Which is not a property of metallic solid. They are very good conductors, definitely. They are having high melting point, they are having luster in nature. They are soft in nature, no, they are hard in nature. They are very hard in nature, right? Metallic bond is force of dash between. Generally the forces present between kernel and mobile electron. Answer will be what here? Isn't it? C. And what about B? Attractions between metal ion and free electron. So metal ion and kernel both are same, no? Metal ion, kernel both are same, so you can also get B also correct answer. Next we will see covalent or network solids. Covalent or network solids. Let me take covalent molecular solids, also called network molecular solids. What is the definition of covalent network solids here? These are non-metal crystalline solids. They are not having metallic character, but they are crystalline solids by the formation of what? Covalent bonds. So which type of bondings will be present here? Covalent bonds are present between the adjacent atoms throughout the crystal. In the crystal what happens? Atoms will be there. Between the atoms, covalent bonds will be there. Because of the covalent bonds, they are getting very hard in nature and they are getting crystal lattice, isn't it? By the non-metals here. These are gained molecule. When you observe their structure, what happens? They are having large size, isn't it? A typical size with large. So they are gained molecule. Let me see that gained. What is that gained? Let me see in the graphite here and diamond also. Generally, covalent bonds are strong in nature because covalent bond is very strong because they are formed by sharing of electrons. Contributing electrons equally and sharing also equally, the bond will be very strong. Therefore, their direction also. Why? Because if you observe here, they are overlapping. You see SS overlapping, isn't it? SS overlap, SP overlapping, PX overlapping. So these are direction in nature. PX overlapping will take place where? In x-axis. PY overlapping takes place on y-axis. So the direction also. Next, these solids are very hard and because of strong bonding, what happened? Definitely they are very hard and also they are having some brittle nature. Graphite is having some brittle nature. We can easily break that one. They have extremely high melting points because of strong covalent bonds and may decompose before the melting also. So high melting points are they having because of high melting points, isn't it? They may undergo decompose also before melting because of high melting point. What happen? They undergo decompose because they are less stable at their melting points here. There are insulators because they don't have any free electrons. So generally they are insulators, they do not conduct electricity. Example, diamond and graphite. But then one exception is there, graphite is a good conductor that we discuss later actually. But generally covalent or network solids are having no free electron, no ions in the movement, therefore they are non-conductors of electricity. Examples are what we are taking, diamond and silicon carbide. See, this is the gain structure we are going to observe for the diamond here. A gain structure of diamond we are observing like this here. Long range structure it is having here. Next, network structure of diamond looks like this here. Next, if you observe what happened, graphite. I told you, graphite is also a covalent network solid, but it conducts electricity. It is a very good conductor. What is the reason? It has a free electron in each atom. If you observe of the graphite, you are having a free electron. So that is responsible for the conducting of electricity, isn't it? And next before that what happened, let me see where this free electron comes. Actually carbon, when you observe here, its structure looks what happened, the arrangement of electrons, 2s2, 2p2. Now I am writing this 2s2 like this, one electron, 2s2, and other is having like this here. Okay. Now what happening, this electron is jumping over here. So we are going to get here, all are what? Single electrons. Even diamond also same, even diamond also will have same type of electronic arrangement only. But what happens, in diamond, all undergo hybridization together to give what actually? sp3 hybridization. When they combine together, what happens? There are no free electrons. No free electrons, isn't it? For what actually? Diamond. For diamond, there are no free electrons. But what about the graphite? In graphite, what happens here? You observe here, in graphite, One s orbital, two p orbitals will undergo overlapping to form sp2 hybridization, and this will be the free electron, will not undergo any type of hybridization, and this free electron is involved, it will move inside the graphite. Because of this, what happened, it can produce the current. So it's a very good conductor. Which one? Graphite is a very good conductor. Next, if you observe, graphite has a layer structure which is responsible for the lubricating nature. This we discussed in the 11th class. Because of the van der Waals forces, what happened between the two layers, some forces operating, van der Waals forces. Because of that force, what happened, they move forward and backward. Because of this, what happened, they will get a lubricant nature here. Okay, so graphite has a layer structure which is responsible for lubricating nature, and at high temperatures and due to strong covalent bonds among the carbon atoms. If you observe, this one is having lubricant nature at high temperatures, and because of why they are getting? Because of strong covalent bonds. You observe here what happened, each structure. See, this is the structure of the graphite. So there is the first layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer. Now between these two layers, what happened? These layers, what happened? Some force of attraction present here. That force of attraction we are calling as what? Van der Waals of forces we are calling. Now these forces are very weak forces here. They are very weak forces. If it is moving this direction, this will move in backward direction. Because of this, what happened? It will get a slippery nature. It will get a slippery nature. That slippery nature you are calling nothing as a lubricant. It can act as a lubricant. I will show this one in this diagram. In this one. Let me see this one. See? In this way, they are getting bondings here. These bondings are what type of bondings? Van der Waals forces, isn't it? They are nothing but what? Van der Waals forces are operating. The lines, red marks are nothing but called Van der Waals forces. Because of this, what happened? First layer, second layer, third layer, fourth, they are getting a layer type of structure. That is the reason it is having brittle nature. Graphite will have a brittle nature because of this, what happened. See how many layers you are having? Say 4 layers you are having here, isn't it? Now, so this is about the all type of solids, isn't it? Now let me combine all these things and let me compare the things. See, first of all, we discussed in the last class non-polar molecular solid. So constant particles for this one is molecules only, because they don't have any type of ions. Now what type of forces I told you? Dispersion forces, London forces are operating in where? Non-polar molecule. And what are the examples you have taken? Argon, carbon tetrachloride, hydrogen, iodine, carbon dioxide. These are all comes under non-polar molecular solid, isn't it? And they are very soft because the force operating is dispersion forces. They are very, very weak. Therefore, they are soft in nature. And they do not have any free electron. They do not have any ions. Therefore, they cannot conduct electricity. They are insulators. And their melting points are also very low because of weak force of attractions are there here. Next, if you observe polar. Next, if you observe what happened, polar, if you observe here what happened. Next, we will see the polar. Now, polar also will have constant particles. Again, molecules only. See, hydrogen. See, HCl is a molecule, sulfur dioxide is a molecule. Therefore, the constant particles also what? Again, molecules here. Now, what type of forces are operating here? Dipole forces are operating here. Dipole forces are operating here. Example, we can take HCl and SO2. They can develop charges here, positive charge, negative charge, isn't it? The charges brings this dipole interactions, and that is the reason they are called polar molecular solids. And these are also very weak, so they are what? Soft in nature. But compared to non-polar, they are strong only. Okay, and because of absence of ions, permanent charges are not there. Therefore, they cannot conduct electricity. Absence of free electron, they are called as insulators, and their melting point is also low. But compared to this one is more. Why? Because these forces are strong. That is the reason their melting point is high when you compare with non-polar. When you compare with non-polar, they are strong, isn't it? But they are still soft nature only. Next, we will see the hydrogen bond here. Hydrogen bonded molecular solids, they also comes under molecules. Their constant particles also molecules here, because you see water, example you have taken is a molecule. So constant particle is also molecule here also. Now what type of force operating here? Hydrogen bonding is operating. But hydrogen bonding is stronger than dipole force. That is the reason it is hard in nature. Ice is what? Hard in nature. But still does not have ions, does not have free electron. Therefore it is insulator. And melting point is also what? Low. But compared to the polar, it will have higher. Now next we will take ionic solids. Just now we discussed this one. The constant particles are ions. See, NaCl, Na plus Cl minus, zinc plus 2, S minus 2, calcium plus 2, 2F minus, magnesium plus 2, O minus 2. These are constant particles. Ions are constant particles here. Now what type of force are operating? Electrostatic force. Otherwise, Coulombic force is operating, which is stronger than hydrogen bonding, stronger than dipole-dipole forces. That is the reason they are what? Hard in nature, and again they are having brittle in nature. And they are what? Insulator. Generally they are insulators, but if you take in form aqueous state, we discussed this one. If you take in terms of aqueous state or in terms of what happened molten state, they are very good conductors. They are what? Very good conductors. They can exhibit what? Conductance because of what? Momentum of ions, not because of momentum of electrons, because of momentum of your ions only. And they are getting high melting point. Why they are having high melting point? Because these forces, Coulombic forces, are very strong in nature. That is the reason what happened. They are having high melting point here. Next, metallic solids. So just now we seen positive ion is nothing but kernel we see, and electrons will be delocalized, will move inside the metal here. So they are nothing but constant particles. What are the constant particles? Kernel and electrons are constant particles. They are having which type of bonding between the kernel and the electron? Metallic bonding is there. That is very strong. Example, iron, copper, silver, magnesium comes under. And they are also very hard because of strong bonding of a metallic bonding. But they are also having some extra properties called malleability and ductility. And they are very good conductors because of free electrons. They are having these electrons. See, just now I told you, no, sea of electrons they are having. Huge number of electrons are delocalizing here. They are moving. When electrons are moving, definitely current will pass. So they are very good conductors, and they are having high melting point because of strong forces present. That is what metallic bond is very strong. That is the reason they are fairly high having melting points here. Finally, we see the covalent or network solids. Again here covalent means only atoms here. Atoms will form these covalent bondings here. So constant particles are atoms, and they are having which type of bonding? Covalent bonding. Such as example we can take silica, SiO2, quartz we can call, carborundum nothing but SiC, carbon means in the form of diamond or graphite we can take, aluminum nitrate, graphite. All this comes under example for what? Covalent network solid. And their physical state is what? Soft in nature. So why? Because their bondings are compared to this one, which is see this graphite is having layer structure. This graphite is having layer structure, and that layers are bondings having van der Waals forces here. But they are hard. Which one hard? This one hard. Quartz, isn't diamond? They are very hard in nature. Why? Because which type of bonding is operating? Covalent bonding is operating. Okay, here bonding operating is covalent bonding. So covalent bond is very strong, therefore they are very hard in nature. But graphite is soft in nature. Why? Because of the layer structure. Between the layer, only van der Waals forces, weak forces are operating, therefore very soft in nature. Which one? Graphite is soft, and remaining are what? Very, very hard in nature. Now, all covalent network solids are insulated. They do not conduct except the graphite. Graphite conduct electricity because of free electron. It can conduct. So, exception case is what here? In the covalent network solid, graphite. Graphite is a very good conductor having soft nature. Remaining are insulators, hard in nature here. And they are having very high melting point. This is about the comparison of all type of molecular solids. Now let me take some questions here. Why solids are rigid in nature? See, just now we discussed solids will have fixed position. They are having what? Fixed positions. The constant particles are having what? Fixed position. So these position cannot be changed. Even with the force also we can't change the position. But just they can vibrate. So they cannot change their positions. They cannot change their mean position. That is the reason their positions are fixed. Therefore what? They are having rigid in nature. Next, why do solids have a definite volume? See, again same reason. When they are having fixed positions, when the atoms, constant particles are having fixed positions, so we will get a fixed what happened? Volume we get, isn't it? Once if you see what gas it does not have the fixed position. It will always move here. So that is the reason what will take? The container volume will take as the volume of the gas will take. But for solids what happened? Their position is fixed. Therefore what happened? Their volume also will get a fixed, definite volume they will get actually. Now classify following as amorphous and crystalline solids. We have to classify this one. Polyurethane, this is a polymers. Generally polymers are formed by what? Covalent compounds. Therefore it is a covalent So the covalents are nothing but called what? Amorphous only. This is what amorphous here. Okay. Naphthalene, crystalline form. This one is a crystalline form. Okay. Benzoic acid also what? Crystalline form. Teflon is a amorphous form, isn't it? Potassium nitrate is a crystalline form. Cellophane is a polymer. Generally polymers are nothing but amorphous only. It is a polymer, comes under what? Amorphous. Polyvinyl chloride is also polymer, comes under what? Amorphous. Fiber, polymer, comes under what? Amorphous. Copper will have crystalline nature. So how many are there? Crystal? Copper, then what? Potassium nitrate, then benzoic acid, naphthalene. This comes under crystalline form. Amorphous nothing but all polymers, polyurethane, Teflon, cellophane, polyvinyl chloride, fiberglass, they comes under what? Amorphous solids here. Why glass considered as supercooled liquid? See, when you observe, glass is semi-state of liquid and solid. It is intermediate state. Neither it is a solid, neither it is a liquid actually. So it will present between the solid and liquid state. The glass is present between the state of what? Isn't it? Liquid and solid. The intermediate state of solid and liquid is called semi-solid. So glass is a semi-solid. That is the reason it can be moved. It can move from their position. Therefore, they are called what? Supercooled liquid. For example, if you observe the glass plates, when you observe at the mid portion of the glass plate, they are having what? Very thickness there. They can break that one very easily. But the bottom state, when you observe this is a glass here, at this position what happened? It will have what? In this position, the thickness it will have. You're going to see thickness here. And here you're going to see what? Thickness here. Why here thickness here? Because whatever the constant particles, because of the gravitation force, what happens here? It will come down like this. It will come down like this here. Because of the gravitational force, what happened? The constant particles will come down like this. So they settle at the bottom. They settle at the bottom. So that is the reason the number of constant particles at the mid portion here, in this portion what happened, the constant particles will be less. That is the reason it becomes thin actually. And all they are moving together here, when they are moving together here, they form more bonding forces here, more attractive forces present here. Therefore, it looks what? Thickness. So breaking at the bottom is very difficult when you compare at the middle portion of the glass here. This is the reason because of what? The flow of molecules of glass here. So why glass considered a supercooled liquid? Because these constant particles are moving from one position to other position. Next, refractive index of a solid is observed to have the same value along with all direction. I told you isotropy. Isotropy exhibited by the amorphous solids here. Amorphous solids will generally exhibit the isotropy here. What is isotropy? See, exhibiting the physical properties, isn't it? In any direction, they are exhibiting what? Same physical properties here. The topic is called what actually? Isotropy. So what is the meaning of isotropy? Exhibiting same physical properties in all directions, in any direction is getting same properties, that is called what? Isotropy. Generally they are exhibited by the amorphous. So refractive index of solid is observed to have the same value along all directions. Comment on the nature of this solid. Would it show cleavage property? See, same value they are having in all direction is called what? Isotrope in nature. So different properties along different directions is called anisotropy. Generally amorphous compounds will show isotropy here, isn't it? Now would it cleavage property? Would show it cleavage property? See, when they cleave, what happen? Unevenly they will cleave here. Because of this reason what happened? Unevenly they can cleave here. Next, classify the following solids into different categories here based on the nature of intermolecular forces. Potassium sulfate, K2S. The first one is potassium sulfate, K2S, which is ionic in nature, ionic molecular solid. Tin is a metal, so metallic solid it is. Metallic solid it is. Benzene is C6H6, can form covalent compounds. It is a covalent molecular solid. Next, urea you can see the polar molecule, urea NH2, CONH2, isn't it? CONH2. This is a polar molecular solid. It's a polar molecular solid. Ammonia also what comes under polar molecular solid, because NH3, polar in nature, polar molecular. You can take in the hydrogen bonding also. Water is what? Hydrogen bond molecular solid. Zinc is a metallic solid, isn't it? Zinc sulfate is an ionic solid. Zinc sulfate is an ionic solid. Zinc is metallic solid, but zinc sulfate is ionic solid here. Graphite is network covalent molecule solid here. Rubidium is a network covalent solid. It is covalent. It is. Rubidium is a metallic solid. Argon is a non-polar, no. So non-polar molecular solid. Silicon carbon under covalent solid it is. And solid A is having very hard electrically insulator in solid as well as molten state and melts at extremely high temperature. What type of solid it is, they are asking. So insulator, generally if it is metal, it does not comes under the insulator. Insulators are actually what happen, very hard in nature, and that too insulator. Maybe covalent, maybe covalent they are actually. Covalent are hard in nature, they are insulator because of absence of electron. So molten C, for example, ionic also is hard in nature, but ionic compounds are insulators, does not conduct electricity, but in molten state they can conduct. So the A will not be ionic because in molten state ionic compounds will conduct electricity, but A is not conducting electricity, therefore A is not at all molten state, that means not at all ionic compound, and it is an insulator. So it is not at all called metallic solid because metallic solids are conductors actually. So one is remaining is nothing but covalent molecular solid. It is not even graphite also because graphite is a good conductor. Maybe graphite, maybe diamond, maybe silicon carbon like this. So it will be a covalent molecular solid. Ionic solids conduct electricity in molten state but not in solid state. We have discussed this one in this class because of momentum of ions in the water. In the molten state they can conduct electricity because of momentum of ions. What type of solids are electrical conductors? Malleable, ductile. This already we discussed here. What type of solids we are going to have? Electrical conductors we are going to have here. Metallic solids. Metallic solids are nothing but electrical conductors. They are having what? Malleability, ductility property, we discussed that one here. And what are amorphous term? We discussed number of times. I give a few examples for amorphous solid. The first thing, these are all we are having amorphous, everything. These examples we can consider into that one here. Amorphous are generally what happens? Short range order. They are actually short range order. What makes the glass different? This already discussed that one. What makes the glass different from the solid such as quartz, and what condition quartz convert into glass? See, quartz and glass both will have what? Silicate only. They are formed by SiO4 units only. Both glass and quartz, they are formed by SiO4 units. Both are having chemical formula is same, but how they are arranged, isn't that is different here. In quartz, we are going to have three-dimensional network polymer, isn't it? It's a three-dimensional network polymer. In the glass, what happened? Their arrangement of atom is loosely bound here, therefore they exist as a glass here. Okay. Next, classify each of the following solids into ionic, metallic, molecular, network, amorphous, isn't it? See, when you observe here what P4O10 will have a covalent bonds between oxygen. So this will have what? Covalent network polymer. This is a covalent network polymer. Ammonium phosphate, ammonium plus, phosphate minus, therefore they are ionic solid. Silicon carbondum, just now we seen this one, covalent. Iodine, non-polar molecular solid. P4 is also what happened? Non-polar molecule. Plastic, amorphous it is. Amorphous comes under what? Covalent network polymer. Covalent network polymer. Graphite, covalent network polymer. Covalent network polymer. Brass, metallic, because brass is nothing but copper plus zinc, metals, therefore metallic polymer. Rubidium, metal, metallic solid. Lithium bromide, positive and negative ionic solid. Silicon, metal, therefore it is a metallic, bondings will be there, metallic solids. So this is about this topic we have discussed. In this video, we have completed all types of solids are completed. Next